Hello, everybody. Welcome to Thumbstick Adventures. Before we begin, I need to point out that if you are watching here on Twitch, thank you. We're here on Twitch at Thumbstick Adventures. However, if you're not here and you're somehow wandering YouTube and you find me speaking to you, we are on Thumbstick Adventures at YouTube. That's where the VODs of these Twitch streams will be. Anyways, we're moving on to our discourse of the day. Hey, listen! We're going to do a Zelda tier list, but not before covering industry news first. Now, I'm IDK. Sorry, I didn't introduce myself. And I have my lovely compatriots here.
I'm Kagros.
And I'm juicysamples.
Wonderful, gentlemen. Now, we're going to move on to our first little news bit of the day. Square Enix had a presentation, and we have a couple of prizes and a couple disappointments. Now, I will let Kagros take over from here.
All right, so let's go over the 4 surprises and 4 disappointments from the Square Enix Presents. So before I do want to point out that I do believe that the Square Enix Presents was better than the PlayStation Presents and the Nintendo Direct earlier this year, but it was not as good as the Pokemon announcement. I forgot what they call the Pokemon celebration thing, but it was definitely better than those two. For me personally, I was a lot more excited for the Square Enix Presents. I'm not sure about IDK and Juicy. Were you guys more excited? Where do you guys think that the Square Enix Presents fell on the rankings here?
I'll let Juicy go first.
I think it falls at the very bottom because I didn't watch it and I didn't care for it. I had very low expectations, and to me, rightfully so. I think I'd love to hear why Kagros is so hyped, and also like Kagros, were you expecting something? Like, were you trying to hear more news about a certain game before they had a presentation?
Let's we'll save that for the. It is in the top 4 surprises / disappointments.
Okay. And then what about you, IDK?
Yeah. I was actually excited when I heard the announcement, and then as I was getting ready to leave work, I looked at Reddit just for a little bit, and I really didn't see too many announcements from it. Like, there was a couple of the things from our top surprises, and I was like, oh, that's it? Well, I guess I'll look at it a little bit. I'm not going to watch the whole thing. So, a mixed bag for me. Is it better than Nintendo's? I'd say it ties. It's there. I'll give it that.
All right, so so I'm gonna work with the disappointment. So I'm gonna alternate and start with the number 4 and work my way up. So we're gonna start with disappointments. So number 4, maybe I think IDK can talk about this disappointment more, but there was no mention of Deus Ex. So IDK, what's up with this?
My friend, as you know, I am a sort of half fan of Deus Ex. I watched my brother play the original on PC eons ago. Very fascinating game. And Square Enix fell into the ownership of it a while back. They pumped out a pair of games that did. The first game did pretty well. The second game did so, and it ended up being that the second game was really rushed. Now, the developer of these games was Crystal Dynamics. If you're wondering why that name sounds familiar, it's because they're the ones who pushed out that garbage Avengers game, unfortunately. And no news of Deus Ex, no news of Crystal Dynamics getting to go back to their baby made me very disappointed. I knew it probably wasn't going to happen because they're still working on Avengers for some reason. They haven't scrapped it like Anthem yet. But I still wanted some.
Wait,
I say, yeah, RIP.
IDK, are you sure Crystal Dynamics does Deus Ex? Because don't they work on Tomb Raider?
It should have been. Should be them. Or is it someone else?
I think it was.
But either way, the point's.
No. So I think you got it mixed up. It's not Crystal Dynamics. It's I don't know how to say this. Eidos Montreal. Those guys got pulled off. Those guys are the ones behind the behind Deus Ex. You just got the developers mixed up.
Okay.
Yeah, but yeah, it's
But the point still stands.
yes.
No Deus Ex news makes me a sad guy
Yeah.
because the sequel, to their reboot didn't do very well because it was rushed.
Mhm.
And and then Crystal Dynamics, again, they're the Tomb Raider guys,
Yes.
I think, and they're not doing Tomb Raider anymore because they're doing Avengers, which is like completely out of their wheelhouse. What are they doing? Why did you put them on that?
Yeah.
So
All
no
right.
bueno.
So the number 4. So now we're gonna go to the surprises. So the number 4 surprise for me is I had no idea that they made a Toho game, Toho Spell Bubble, for the Switch. When I watched it, I thought it was for the mobile. I'd like, they made a Toho game for the Switch, and I didn't know about this. I used to be a fan of Toho, and I know a lot about the fandom behind it, especially in my early years of college. I have actually played Toho. I think IDK, you played Toho with us, right? Do you remember?
I played a little bit, yes, and I did do a little research into it. And my favorite character, the ogre lady, only showed up in one game.
Yes.
Question: What is Toho? I don't know what Toho is.
So Toho is, so it was made in Japan, and I think it was actually it was an indie. I think the comparative term is it's an indie game, and it's a bullet hell game. So basically, they're not monsters, but actually you can just call them monsters. They just shoot a bunch of bullets on the screen, and so I think I don't know if you grew up playing Raiden in the arcade. It's kind of similar to Raiden, but the bullets travel a lot slower, but there's a lot more bullets on the screen. So it's amazing if you watch some of the really good people at Toho. I don't know how the hell they're able to it's like threading a freaking needle through. I can't beat a thing on normal without continuing. It's crazy. But of course, it's all the characters are female. So, and you know how these Japanese games, it's character-driven game. Each character has their die-hard fans, and I have my personal favorite character. But that totally it's a magical girl franchise. I wouldn't say magical girl, but it's one of those. So the surprise for me wasn't actually the Square Enix announcement of it, but I just didn't know they made a Toho game for the Switch. I thought it was for the phone when I first saw it. I did more research. Oh, they made a Toho game for the Switch, huh? Interesting.
I'm watching a YouTube clip of it, and I realized that I think my past roommate, not IDK, my roommate after college played this game. And I didn't know.
Was this roommate also my roommate?
Yes. But we'll talk about that on the side. But anyways, it looks like bullet hell pretty much.
The game's actually really difficult. So, all right, now the number 3 disappointment, or not really disappointment. I would just So I think now these disappointments are more like surprise. There was no mention of them. Maybe disappointment is the wrong one because disappointment implies expectation. I think besides the number 1, all these 3 were just, I'm surprised that there was no mention of them. So number 3, I'm very surprised that there was no Kingdom Hearts announcements in the Square Enix Presents. I was actually expecting some kind of Kingdom Hearts announcement, whether it was just a small announcement. Oh, by the way, check out our mobile games and having an event, or maybe announcing a new spinoff. Which we would not be surprised if they announced a new spinoff at this point. But I'm surprised that there was lack of an announcement for anything related to Kingdom Hearts.
I just think it's too soon. That's why I wasn't expecting much, and rightfully so. It's too soon. I'll wait till next year. I think I'll be hyped for next year.
I mean, they have mobile games they could at least announce. Like there's the one with Xehanort, right?
Dark Road.
What's it called?
Dark Road.
And there wasn't supposed to be another one?
I don't know.
I thought there was
UX. It's UX, but that's been out for a long time.
Yeah, I know, but they could at least have an announcement for an update for that or something.
Yeah, exactly. Yes. That's what I was expecting.
But,
that's what I was expecting.
Little teaser, just to keep the Kingdom Hearts all. Although I guess we did get Melody of Memories this year already.
Last year, that was last year, but that was the end of last year. It was end of
It feels like this year. But yeah, we have that already, so I guess they didn't feel the need to, but it still feels a little empty without a little Keyblade magic.
Oh, I just no, I don't think it's worth mentioning. All right, so let's move on to the number 3 surprise, and the number 3 surprise is Forspoken. We have gotten the release name of this new. I think it's new IP, right? It's just completely new IP from Square Enix.
It's brand new.
So they released a trailer and they showed some gameplay, and it's interesting.
To me, this was the most hypest moment because I knew of the Project Athia or whatever it was called. But then I watched the trailer and you see the actress, talking about the games. Like, oh yeah, okay, cool, I can't wait to see it. And then they show the game, and then they show the game, and then the character says like, "Oh my god, is that a fucking dragon?" And then my hype meter just went down. I was like, "Oh, what kind of game is this?" And then at the end, you see the character, or you see actual gameplay of the character moving around. It's nothing new that you haven't seen in the past trailer, I think, or maybe they have like different scenes, but it's still the same gameplay. So I was a little bummed out, but it's cool that it's real and it's coming out in 2022, I think. So
I wonder where it's gonna fall in our draft next year.
I don't know.
I just smell a delay. Like I think a lot of these major big game companies will say that they're coming out with a game, this year or next year. And just knowing that they have this, trump card and say, I delay this game and because we need to have more polish on it, and oh, thank you for being so patient. And I'm just sitting here as like, I knew you guys would delay it, that's why I didn't draft you guys.
Yep. That'd be the way it is.
Alright. So now we're going to move to the top 2 disappointment, which is I am very surprised that there was no mention of any Final Fantasy games in this. I'm actually very surprised that they moved their big Final Fantasy announcements to the PlayStation. PlayStation Presents. But then again, I guess it makes sense because Square Enix fans are going to be watching this trailer, the Square Enix Presents anyways, and and the PlayStation Presents is more of a, it's more of geared towards just gamers in general, so I guess they want to have a wider reach. And they probably got paid money to from Sony to like, hey, we have incentive for you to buy PS5s. Come get your upgrade and you'll get this free Final Fantasy VII upgrade.
And when can I buy this so-called PlayStation 5? I think the release date's not until January of 2022. Is it?
January. Try September of 2022.
Yeah, I'm actually surprised too because I thought it would make the most sense to talk more about their new Final Fantasy game. Actually, I'm not surprised that they didn't mention anything about Final Fantasy VII, only because they already did that in the PlayStation Data Play.
Yep.
Or maybe they'll have the same trailer again, which I'm sure Japanese companies are well known of replaying their own trailers in their events. So yeah, I was actually surprised they didn't reveal any more information on 16 because isn't that coming out this year? Or did they have a release date?
Well, it's TBA right now, but all the news seems to be pointing at a very late 2021 release. I think it sits on the same bubble as God of War 2. It's technically should be this year, but could very easily be shifted into 2022 depending on how they feel the game's going.
IDK's second pick was Final Fantasy 16, so he's praying that they release this year.
Well, that was when my knowledge was yeah, it's definitely coming this year. The producer's yeah, it should come 2021. By the end of it, a December release probably, but it was coming. But with everything else being delayed and everything else going on, there's a good chance it gets pushed off. I don't know. I have faith. Be released. December 25th, 2021, Christmas Day. Bam! Thank you very much. Give me that 80.
Yeah,
just-
so
Yeah.
like I said, I'm also surprised there's no further announcements about their spin-off, Final Fantasy 7 spin-offs that were also announced. I'm surprised we didn't get more information about those. But hey, who knows? All right. So the number 2 surprise, going back to the surprise side of it, was actually for me. I was actually pretty excited for Tomb Raider. Like they announced the Tomb Raider collection, which includes all 3 of the Tomb Raider reboot games. Basically the modern
Ooh.
games. And I just thought it was cool to celebrate, just Tomb Raider as a franchise, the 25th anniversary. So I just thought I was pleasantly surprised by it. Maybe I'll get the collection because I've never played any of the Tomb Raider games, but I just thought it was a nice nod from Square Enix, and I was pretty excited when I watched it. Doesn't mean I'm gonna buy it, but I was excited for it.
All I will say is that they did dirty on my old girl Lara Croft. I want them pixels. I want the PS1 Lara Croft, even though I'm talking about. I don't want no next gen Lara Croft. I don't want your remasters, your reboots. I want it the way it used to be. I want to fight dinosaurs. I just want to fight dinosaurs and treasure hunting.
Well,
IDK, back me up.
I mean, I'm glad at least in this case they are taking care of one of their sort of foreign franchises pretty well. I mean, I was surprised Tomb Raider got that many games. I'm surprised they all did pretty well too. So for them to be like, oh yeah, it's 25th anniversary. Oh yeah, here's these games. We're gonna bundle them together, and here you go for anyone who wants to get them again or who hasn't gotten them. I'll take it. At least it's acknowledgement. At least the series isn't being left to be in dormancy and die.
Yeah, just like you mentioned, right? The studio that was working, Crystal Dynamics, they were working on Tomb Raider. They got pulled to do Marvel Avengers instead. So
Yeah, that was their wheelhouse. Like those games are as good as they are because of Crystal Dynamics and their ability. The fact that they pulled them off to make Avengers, really boggles my mind.
All right. So actually, I'm gonna go to the number 1 surprise first because I think the number 1 disappointment was far exceeded the hype I got from this number 1 surprise.
Uh-huh.
So the number 1 surprise obviously was Life is Strange. I have played a bit of Life is Strange 1, basically the first episode. And after I watched the trailer, I was like, dude, this game is going to be amazing. Like Juicy was like in our chat, he was saying this is like good Netflix good, right? This is like a Netflix show. And
It looked like a Netflix series.
And you know what? I was like, dude, this is amazing. Because we have an Asian American protagonist. Like I'm like this is so cool. Like just the whole emphasis on story, that's in our wheelhouse, right? That's our wheelhouse. So they showed it, and at the end of it, I was like, I'm playing this game. I came in here, no intention. So they announced the Life is Strange, like, oh, by the way, guys, for our poster, our Margie announcement is Life is Strange, and I'm like, whatever. Let's just see what else is there, right? And then at the end of it, I'm like, I'm playing this game. Not only am I playing this game, I'm going to get the Ultimate Edition so I can get all the previous games and I can play those too. It sounds like a good deal to me. So, how do you guys feel about it?
I'm on your hype train. You really hyped it up. I watched the trailer. I was like, oh, this is a Netflix series. Like, I think my fiance would enjoy watching it with me play. And I want to play it now too because I want to talk about it with everyone. And can you talk more about the Ultimate Edition? Because I don't know what that is.
So during the announcement, they also announced that they're making like a Life is Strange collection, which has the previous 3 games remastered. So Life is Strange 1, Life is Strange 2, and Life is Strange Before the Storm, or whatever that I forgot.
Yeah.
It's not Before the Storm. So it has all 3 games remastered. So that you can buy that separately. If you buy the Ultimate Edition, not only do you get Life is Strange True Colors, but you also get that collection with the game as well. So you buy the Ultimate Edition, you basically get all the current Life is Strange games.
That's very cool. I think it's definitely a series worth backing up with your money. I think it's like it's just one of those games that you want it to do well too, and you hope that it does well in the future.
Mm-hmm.
And hopefully, it doesn't become the milk factory, but for now it's looking good. It's looking good.
Life is Strange is an odd series. It had a decent amount of hype when it came out. People were like, "Oh yeah, this like it's got a really weird and odd story, like really good characters." And I never really got into it. I did watch a stream of someone play through the first one, and it didn't really hit the mark for me, but I could see why a lot of people like it. This new game does look pretty good, and I'm not entirely sure if I will buy it or buy into the whole hype train going on. But I'm definitely interested to see someone play through it, and maybe go and find someone play through the previous games and like watch someone like I watched one, so I need to find like 2 and Before the Storm, and watch through those, and then watch someone play through True Colors and be like, yeah, pretty good.
I've actually heard that number 2 is not as it's really political, so I think it's really hit or miss depending on the player. But I don't really know too much about it. But yeah.
I will say this though. It is a very interesting decision from Square Enix to like publish this and make this, because it seems so far out of their wheelhouse of like what we expect from Square Enix. So the fact that it is actually of good quality and is actually doing well speaks to the health of their company and the health of their creatives. They're pushing this out. I mean, it's good. It's good.
Yeah. So the one last thing I want to mention about frick, I think I lost.
Life is Strange.
Yeah. No. Yeah. Shoot. Crap. All right. Never mind. Oh yeah. So just to give you guys an idea of how hyped the Life is Strange train was, when right after the announcement, we have 6 people in our fantasy draft league. 4 of us bid on Life is Strange True Colors. Me.
I think 5. I think 5 people wanted to bid on it.
4.
It's just one of them forgot or something.
Oh, do you think Chunky wanted to bid on it too?
Oh, I thought it was implied that he wanted to but forgot.
Oh, maybe. I told him to bid on it. I told him just to try to bid on it because I think that game is going to score at least 85. And then so Juicy didn't bid on it, and I actually asked him, "Hey Juicy, do you want to bid? Do you want to join the hype train?" And then he's like, "I politely declined." And then but it Tonk ended up getting it for $25, which was I think it's probably a good price considering that the Sunstone bid 21 on it. So 25 was not that much higher. So I think it was a good pickup, especially if it gets 90, then 90 for this game was 90 for 25. That's good. That's a pretty.
I mean, if it gets that though, I mean, I was pretty hyped. Trying to get it until I looked at the review scores for the previous games, and they were in like the low 80s territory. It looked like 80, 82.
Life is Strange
maybe
1
81
was 85. Life is Strange 1 was 85.
Okay.
Life is Strange 2 was divisive, so I wouldn't touch that one. Maybe Before the Storm is probably the most indicative because those are the people that are working on True Colors. But from what I saw in the trailer,
okay,
I think they are trying. I think they've learned their lessons from the previous game, so I actually expect them to do a lot better, especially based on what I saw in the trailer.
Have to wait and see.
Yeah. All right. So finally, the number 1 disappointment, and I think if you are a long-time viewer, you will not be surprised by this. And because especially since I'm the one doing this, I think if IDK and Juicy were the ones talking about this would not even make their list. But the number 1 disappointment for me was there is no The World Ends With You announcement here. So Neo, The World Ends With You is supposed to come out this summer. So before the stream, I was like, I told Tom, I'm like, I expect to see something about this game in this trailer or in this presentation. and we got absolutely nothing. Like, are you freaking kidding me? Like, you spend 20 minutes trying to sell me basically shooters, and you got nothing about the world ends with you. So I was very, very surprised that there was no mention of this game, because we actually don't know much about this game at all at this point. And summer is, like 3 to 4
Right
months
around
away.
the corner.
It's right around the corner. And so how come
Yeah.
you better not delay this game, because I want to play this stupid game. I mean,
Kagros, let me tell you now, it's getting delayed, but it's for the best. It's getting delayed for this year. No, it's getting delayed for the later end of this year. But it's good for you. Don't worry. I have the
no
best
doubt
interest in
it's
you.
coming out this year. It's coming out this year, for sure. If they delay it to the end of the year, I wouldn't be surprised. But I'm pretty sure it's going to come out this year. But those guys,
November.
man, come on. I need to see a new trailer already. Like that trailer you showed us at the beginning. I think was it at the beginning of this year, or was it the end of last year? Anyways, with the trailer you guys shot previously, I need more. Come on.
Yeah, I need more too. Yeah.
It's going to be dropping on November 25th, Thanksgiving. You're like, thank the Lord. Bam.
So yeah,
game.
I think ultimately I was very surprised by the fact that this presents highlighted some of their lesser known franchises, and actually a lot of them I feel like were, Western studios. All these announcements were basically focused on most of the Western studios rather than the Japanese ones. So maybe that's why they didn't put anything about, Worlds with You. They just kind of wanted to focus on their Western developers instead.
It kind of feels like one of the Nintendo mini directs where like, oh, we don't have any big announcements, but we have a bunch of like these little small ones that we kind of want to get out of the way. So here, enjoy, and there'll be like one medium-sized announcement somewhere in there for you to bite on if you don't care about all the small stuff. Which I feel like that's gonna kind of be the case when we live in a world without E3. A lot of these announcements would have been bottled up until then, and then we would have had like 3 or 4 days of these things constantly exploding all over the place. But now we don't have that, so these studios are just willy just throwing out stuff like, yeah, Life is Strange here, the 5 Hours of 16 here, or not doing that, or here, how about this, like. And the PR and media teams are all just sort of like lost and confused. They're like, well, what do we talk about? What we don't talk about? It's not very organized.
Yeah, I think we should hold off a bit on the talk on E3. I think we can probably say that for a future episode. I have a lot of thoughts about about E3. I'm sure Juicy also has a lot of thoughts about it too. So, anyways, let's go on to the next topic. So, in continuing on with the whole game releases.
That's right.
Yeah. So there are 3 games coming out on Friday. We're taping, we're streaming this on Wednesday, so in 2 days. So the first game was also announced or was also shown during the Square Enix presentation, was Balan Wonderland. So that game is coming out. Coincidentally, it's the only game right now that doesn't have any reviews. The embargo has not lifted, and I think this game is going to flop.
I 100% agree. They had a demo come out a month and a half ago, and a lot of people who were super excited because the lead creator behind this game was the head creator for Sonic.
Oh, really?
I think if I'm not mistaken, I think the head guy behind this project was the creator of Sonic from Sega. Now he's working for Square Enix or something. It does not look good. It was not good. The demo was bad. Like, this thing needs to go back into the cooker for a long time. It has classic gameplay of old platformers like Knights and Sonic a bit, but it's very weird. Very strange looking. And not in a good way.
IDK.
So,
did you try the demo? Did you try the demo? Because you said, it is from the Sonic creators.
No, I didn't try it because I don't know if it was free or if you had to pre-order the game, but I had a number of streamers I watched who were able to access the demo, and they were very vocal in how awful it was to control and how bad it looked. And just watching it was kind of like painful. Uh, I hate taking a shit on it because it looked interesting when they announced it. It was like Balan Wonderland, and it's like looks like Knights again. And I'm like, oh my god, it's Knights again. Like, what are they gonna do now with all this time and development experience? What could they possibly give to us? Not very much. So there's a reason why it's undrafted in our league.
I actually hope for your sake that maybe it is good because this is I know IDK is a big fan of Sonic, right? And maybe you'll be pleasantly surprised.
Sonic's been in a bad place for a long time, and the only time Sonic's ever in a good place is when someone other than Sega works on him. So, so we'll go with that. We'll go with that. Okay. The other games.
Yes.
So we've got It Takes Two and Monster Hunter Rise, two completely different worlds and settings, coming out same day, both getting rave reviews.
And you are looking at the proud owner of It Takes Two in our fantasy draft. That's me.
Yes,
baby.
yes. I didn't put enough money down.
You did not put enough money.
Kagros was gonna put that much
money. I think Juicy bid 6, IDK bid 9, I bid 14. I basically combined your bids and I bid that much.
The thing is, I really didn't think it was going to do that well because the previous game by this guy and his team didn't do that well. I was like, okay, it'll be like an 83, 84 game. I'm not going to spend that much resources on it. Lo and behold, it's blowing up. 88 right now. And, yeah. So,
fellas,
Kagros.
I only do 90s on my list, by the way. Only 90s. 90s and above.
No wonder you're waiting. No wonder you're waiting, dude. No wonder you're waiting, because there has not been a 90 game this year yet, dude. The first quarter is almost over, and we don't have a single 90 game. Are you kidding me?
I mean, Super Mario Bros. Plus Bowser's Fury got really close. It was 89.
But that's what is that?
That's it. That's not 90. It's a remake, yeah. It's a port of the Wii U game, so it didn't count for our league. But that's the only game that are close. An old Wii U port with an add-on. But, Kagros, you're going to play It Takes Two with Tonk.
Yes.
Is that correct?
Yes, we are. We're going to
Are you looking forward to that?
Yes, and this is one of the reasons why I did draft it, because I'm following my rule. If I'm playing it, I should add it to my roster because it's interesting enough for me to want to play it. So, yeah, I'm looking forward to it. I am also looking forward to getting angry at Tonk, for not hitting the button at the right time, so being unreasonable, being unreasonably angry because oh my god, Tonk, and then of course it's my fault because it always is whenever you're mad at your your partner in a co-op game, it's usually your fault. I don't know if you guys agree with that sentiment, but usually for me.
Kagros, have you played Overcooked with Tonk?
Yes.
How does that go?
I have not played with her together. I played with her and her friends. I've not done one-on-one, and I know of me and IDK in Overcooked. We're like a dream team along with our good friend the Pharaoh. We had a dream team. We beat Overcooked.
Yeah. Well, it's because we just listen to orders. Cook this, chop that, now. Okay, chef. Okay.
Okay, chef. And anyways, so
Tonk.
the other game that came out.
He gets mad at you in front of your friends. Oh, Kagros, how could you? Tonk is responding in chat to these allegations.
Yes. Okay, all right. Well, there you have it.
Why?
Straight from Tonk. I'm just saying, when we last played Overcooked Tonk, I did not get mad at anybody. We had a good time, during the festive festival. We had a great time. We just did our thing. We just wanted to make chocolate. We wanted to make Christmas cookies. We all had a good time. So, I'm just saying for the record.
Oh.
Anyways, moving on from my transgressions and the accusations levied against me. let's move on. So let's talk about Monster Hunter Rise. And I'm not surprised that this game is doing so well, because after the success of Monster Hunter World, Sunstone drafted it for her first pick. I honestly should have picked it as my first pick instead of God of War. I kind of forgot about it. But anyways, I think I've never played. I don't think any of us have any of you guys played Monster Hunter?
The only experience I had with Monhun is when I downloaded the demo for World and got to experience the clunkiness of it, which apparently, according to veterans, it's the least clunky game in the series. So it really tells you something about the other older games. It's fun to watch. I love watching someone who actually gets that game play it, because they just go crazy. They're like wild apes, just swinging their weapons everywhere, dodging and dancing, doing their abilities, and then when they get hurt and they need to cook food, they bring out a little cooking wheel and start cooking food and then eat it. And I'm like, what is going on? This dragon's shooting lightning and you're cooking food trying to eat it. I think the biggest thing against Monster Hunter for me is the timers on the battles. Like, you have 30 minutes to hunt this beast. That's it. I've never liked time content in my games. Like, Dead Rising as a series has never appealed to me, because I always heard, like, oh, it's a zombie apocalypse, like, and you have to explore and find out what's going on. Great, that sounds cool. There's a time limit. You have X number of days to do it, and you have X number of like hours to do it per day. So you miss stuff. You have to replay it over and over to get everything. I hate that. So for Monster Hunter, I have the same thing. Apparently, it's not a big issue. Apparently, veterans of the series love having a time limit because it makes them have to fight more efficiently and get better armor to beat certain monsters. I just don't like time limits. I don't like that additional stress pressure of a timer in addition to a boss battle. It's already pretty difficult, it seems, especially some of the end game monsters.
What about you, GC? Would you be willing to try Monster Hunter?
I would love to. Monster Hunter World looks amazing, like what IDK said. Like, it's supposed to be, more noob friendly. I personally have played Monster.
Right? We all noobs, right?
We're all noobs. I played Monster Hunter on the PSP way back, and yeah, like, it's like what IDK said. It's too clunky, and I actually thought this game wouldn't do well only because it was on the Switch, and I thought that it would actually run poorly. But I'm really happy to see that it's running pretty well, actually, and that it's not an issue. So, just gotta give props to Capcom for finding that magic and getting it to run on Switch.
Yeah, props to Capcom for threading the needle on this game, because that was exactly one of my big worries for this. Was like, Monster Hunter World can kind of lag and slag sometimes on the PS4 and PS4 Pro.
Yeah.
Like, PC, it's fine. PC, you just build a high-grade PC and no problem. But putting a Monhun game on the Switch, of all things, like, it had the potential to be really bad. Like, super slowdowns, like, looking at Hyrule Warriors, like, what was it called? Oh, hell, Hyrule Warriors itself.
I'm like, I think
Warriors
that's it. Hyrule Warriors.
But there's also the one for Breath of the Wild. I can't remember what it's called. But that game has some, like, nasty frame rate drops. So you're going down to, like, 10, 15 FPS while you're battling. That would be really bad in Monster Hunter. Like, no one would accept that. But the fact that it's, like, a decent, solid 30, like, pretty clean, except for maybe, like, a couple of reviewers have said there's, like, a couple areas where it dips down to, like, 25 a little bit. That's pretty good. And it looks pretty good. So, props to Capcom.
Given that it's running on a 4-year-old console, one thing that really dropped this week in news is that there's a rumor, and there's always rumors about this, but I guess this is officially a good rumor that there is a new Switch model, and this new Switch model apparently has a better screen on it, which will be an OLED screen, which is pretty much like what you see on your most recent smartphones. It's 7-inch versus 6.2-inch, and then it might be a little bit more expensive because this is like a Switch Pro, meaning that It's gonna run faster than the current Switch, and yeah, just like their prior, console upgrades, like from the 3DS to the. Was there another one, or was it just 3DS?
3DS.
Or maybe just there's like a DS to like DSi or whatever. Yeah, like this upgrade is like it's just a half step. But it's still really exciting because the biggest limitation for Switch for a lot of players is that once you take it off that dock, man, you're just playing some blurry ass games. Like I love the idea that you can buy a game where you can play it on TV and on the go, but as of late, like I don't play on the go because the games just look terrible on screens.
Really? I mean,
for example, like the latest game I played was Xenoblade Chronicles, and that game runs like ass. It runs.
It's bad. It's really bad. It's really bad on Switch, on dock.
It plays fine. You just don't, but then you don't know what you're looking at when you're playing.
It's blurry. It's blurry. It's really bad.
It goes from like 720p to like 360p or whatever. It's really bad.
It goes down to 504p, which I wasn't aware was resolution, but it is.
Yeah. But yeah. Do you guys have any thoughts about this?
It's actually I think probably the question to be asking is, would you get the upgraded Switch? We all have Switches already. Would you get this upgraded Switch regardless? Knowing the fact you already have the Switch, would you?
I think the bigger question is going to be, are we going to be able to get an upgraded Switch in this lifetime?
Oh my God.
Where we are dealing with PS5 shortages, Xbox One X shortages, a new Switch coming out, and we're dealing with a chip shortage. I think they're going to make like a couple million of this and sell it worldwide, and whoever has like pre-orders or the highest bidder on eBay is going to get one of these things. So that whole issue is there. But in a world where they are available, it's on the shelf. I can literally grab it and buy it. Do I get it? No. Not unless there's a killer game that actually takes advantage of this Switch Pro that I absolutely desperately want. Because I have not touched my Switch in the past year and a half. It is sat there gathering dust. Like, I have Mario Odyssey on it. I have to beat that game. I just can't will myself to do it. I can't do it. I'll do something else. I won't do it. So there's no way I'm going to invest in new tech for Nintendo when I'm not even playing their games right now. There's just nothing attracting me. Like, it's cool.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's cool, and like I hope some of the games right now that are kind of struggling on the regular Switch, like Hyrule Warriors, Breath of the Wild version, and some of these other games, any Xenoblade Chronicles game, I hope they get improvements. I hope they run better on the Pro, but they're not attracting me to it right now.
Kagros, I have one answer for you, and you would agree as well. We'd only buy the new Switch if they have a reboot of Donkey Kong 64 with a good old rap, because to play Donkey Kong 64, you need that little expansion pack, and you put it in your Nintendo 64.
Hold up.
You gotta follow the same model, Like, if it's not the Switch Pro, I still want some adapter I gotta plug into my Switch and play that reboot of Donkey Kong 64. That's what I'm talking about. But in all seriousness, I really don't foresee a game where I need that extra juice to like play in, a 720p OLED screen that doesn't lag or doesn't drop frames. Yeah, I just don't see it. I really do hope that whatever Nintendo's next console will be, that it's backwards compatible. Or else I'm gonna flip a bitch, because I bought some digital games. I want to transfer it to the new system. But yeah, I'm not gonna get it. What about you?
I have no interest in getting it. Just like first off, I have played. Unlike IDK, I have played my Switch because I just beat Genosia. We may or may not do an episode on that. And to counter Juicy Samples' point, that that game was just fine playing it mobile. I don't need it. I didn't play it connected to the TV at all. And like there are certain. I've actually played my Switch now on the mobile part of it. I have not really played it connected up to a monitor anytime, recently. So, but I unlike Juicy, I have not played Xenoblade Chronicles. So I think that is, I think for Xenoblade Chronicles you kind of do have to play it on a TV. I don't think you can play that on your monitor. So to counter IDK's point, let's go through some of these Switch games since apparently IDK does not want to play his Switch and he's not hyped about it. IDK, you drafted new Pokemon Snap. Are you not going to play it?
No!
What?
Probably not.
What?
You robbed me at that game. That game's gonna be a 95.
I took it for the points, baby. I took it for the points because I have good memories of Pokemon Snap. But I want to see reviews first.
IDK.
And the game was like
IDK.
10 hours long.
Did you not watch the Post Malone virtual concert?
No, I did
You
not.
didn't watch it. Like literally, that is straight gameplay from new Pokemon Snap.
Oh, really?
No, I'm just kidding.
Oh.
Did you watch it? Did you watch it?
They literally released new gameplay today for Pokemon Snap. I do not anticipate getting it immediately, or at all. I think the problem is with the Switch. I'm more comfortable letting other people buy the games and then I can watch them play it because I don't believe in the whole Nintendo quality price trap they do, or a game like Breath of the Wild is still $60, or at its lowest is $48 after all this time. So I don't feel like feeding into that ecosystem. When I can't buy Luigi's Mansion 3 for under $40, I'm a little peeved. Okay.
Well, the thing is,
so
I think the thing that's very special about Nintendo is that a lot of their games are quite timeless.
Yeah, they have quality. I can understand their reasoning for it.
Mm-hmm.
I just don't like it as a guy who wants a good deal. If I want a good deal on these games, I literally have to go to eBay and find someone who's willing to sell it for a lower price, but they'd be fools to do so unless it's trying to get rid of the game. So for me, it's more yes, I'm very excited about new Pokemon Snap. Will I buy the game as soon as it comes out and play it? No. I will probably just wait for someone to buy it and play it on stream and enjoy that experience. Whereas I'm more than happy to buy a game for my PS4 Pro that's on sale on the PSN store because I can get a full 100+ hour RPG for $18. Cool.
So Tonk has mentioned that Luigi's Mansion was on sale last week for Mario's birthday under $40.
Uh-oh.
You're being called out.
No!
You're being fact-checked. You're being fact-checked, IDK.
Oh, was it? Well, okay. Under $40, but was it $38? That's not enough. $38 is not enough. It needs to be $30 at least. If it was $30, I'm gonna blow a fuse.
Don't do that to Luigi though. I thought Luigi was your favorite character.
35. Oh, that's still not enough.
I will give you $5 to make up for that. Don't.
It needs to be
IDK just loves excuses. Flat. He just loves excuses.
$30 flat. I need excuses not to play these games. I need excuses not to spend my money.
So moving on from new Pokemon Snap, you're telling me you have fond memories of Pokemon Platinum, but you're not gonna play the Pokemon. What is it? Shining Crystal, Shining Diamond. I don't.
Brilliant Pearl, Shining Diamond.
Brilliant Diamond, Shining Pearl.
No! I'm not gonna play those remakes. They look like garbage.
You're not?
I'm gonna go pull out my Pearl copy I still have and maybe play that just for old fun's sake.
All right.
Maybe.
What about? So we haven't. I don't think we talked about this on the podcast yet. But what about Arceus, Pokemon Legends? Are you gonna get that?
Oh, that you might need a Switch Pro to play that game. That game's looking real molasses right now. So, yeah, I think you need a Switch Pro.
IDK.
As much as I love Arceus, as much as I love the Japanese theming, I just don't see their first foray being that good. I'm gonna be honest. I don't think it's gonna be that good.
We have a chance. We have a chance. We have a shot at history here, where Game Freak is actually going to innovate. And you telling me you don't want to throw your money to support that direction for Pokemon?
I will throw money if it's actually good and worth the money. But so far, Game Freak has not shown that it's worth the money yet. They need to show more.
I second that. I'm willing to wait on Pokemon. There are very little games that I'll buy immediately. So, like, I'm willing to wait. I agree with you, IDK.
Yeah.
But don't wait for the Luigi's Mansion. It's your brother. Just get it. $50, $60, $35.
I love Luigi, but like, come on, man. Come on, just bring it down to $30.
IDK,
I'll go pick it up.
We're giving you reasons to dust off the Switch. Go play your Switch. Go.
Actually, the funny thing is, the only thing I think that might pull me to the Switch, and this is from a YouTuber who goes absolutely crazy about this game, but Puyo Puyo Tetris 2.
Oh my goodness.
Like, he just was ranting and raving about it. I'm like, I have no idea what this game is. And it looks fun, so maybe I should pick that up. Or, something like that. That might actually entertain me on the Switch until the next Fire Emblem game comes out. So I'll buy that. Fire Emblem. If it's decent, I'll buy that.
All right, guys.
Speaking of...
You know what we should do? We should download the DS emulators, and we should play Heart Gold, Soul Silver together. That's what we should do.
Heart Gold... Oh.
That was our number one Pokemon game, and Juicy has never experienced Heart Gold, Soul Silver. I think that'd be a fun thing to do.
I would love to play it.
I am down to replay Heart Gold, Soul Silver. The best Pokemon game ever made. I'm just saying. I'm just throwing out some ideas out there.
Oh, don't worry, guys. I totally won't go into our first battle against each other with a level 100 Mew. I'm totally not going to do that. Totally not going to bring hacked Pokemon into my blessed game.
Oh yeah, you can. I'll beat your hacked Pokemon. Just like I beat that kid 10 years ago who was bragging to all his friends, "Oh, I got shiny Arceus." I'm like, "All right, let's battle. I'll use 2 Pokemon. I'll beat you." And at the end, his friends were laughing at him because he lost to my 2 Pokemon.
I still remember one of them. I still remember that turtle.
Yeah.
Schluck?
Shuckle.
What was his name?
Shuckle.
Trick will be, I'll have my own!
Alright.
Even more OP Shuckle.
Let's tango.
Speaking of possibly new consoles, exciting news that came out this week is a peripheral for PS5, which is the new VR controllers. They didn't really dive into like the VR camera itself, but they dived right into their controllers, which makes sense. They look a lot like, I think, is it like the Valve Index? They have this ring that wraps around your arm or your hand.
Grip.
Yeah, it looks just like one of the more recent VR controllers. So, yeah, I remember Kagros, you talked about wanting to get the Oculus Quest 2, I think. Mm-hmm. Did you ever end up getting it?
This is what I got instead. I got the headset for the phone. So it's not really for gaming, it's just to watch videos. And? I have to say, it actually looks really good if you watch a video in VR. I think it's pretty. I don't really use it that often. I think I probably use it like 2 or 3 times. But like, if you never watched anything, never got a chance to experience anything VR, I think you should definitely try. Like, there are a lot of there's a lot of things on YouTube where like you can use this headset and then you can like look around. It actually looks really, really good. But I've never actually. I don't know. Have you guys ever tried playing games in VR? Besides demos. Like I remember, I forgot which E3 was it where. I think it was me and Juicy. We got to try the first iteration of the PlayStation VR with that that we're rolling down a cliff and the cars are coming and I get killed multiple times.
Yeah. Like you go right under the car at the very last moment,
Yeah.
and everyone just reacts to it, which makes it so magical. Yeah. What about you, IDK? Have you tried VR?
No, I haven't had the chance to strap on a helmet and don some adaptive controllers or whatever. It I don't know. It just never really super appealed to me. Never super appealed to me with what they're offering. I think there's some cool stuff coming out in VR. I just don't feel like coughing up the change to experience them.
It is a pretty
there's
expensive upfront cost. It is.
there is an expensive wall to cross if you want to experience VR in a decent, and also have the space to like have room to move around. Like one thing that really caught my interest was they made a VR version of Myst, of all things. And they fully redid it, and it's in VR, so you can like wander around and have like a virtual notepad to take notes while you're trying to solve the mystery of Myst. Super cool looking in VR, and that would be interesting to do. I just don't want to pay thousands of dollars to do that. It's on PC, I think.
It's not thousands of dollars, IDK. It's a couple hundred.
So the really exciting thing,
couple thousand, you know.
I think the exciting thing for Sony to go into VR and invest more on VR is that they're able to commoditize VR.
Yes.
But now Facebook has done the same thing with the Oculus Quest because it's actually pretty cheap.
Mm-hmm.
But my impression is that it's like on the lower end of things. So I feel like PS5 might be this middle ground of like affordability and being able to offer you this immersive experience. Like I think I'm really hoping to get first of all I gotta get PS5 in like 3 years, and then maybe wait for another 3 years to get VR controllers when they're actually out. But yeah, I think the must play game, I don't know if it will ever come out on PS5, is the Half-Life Alex.
Alex, yeah.
Yeah.
That's definitely like the first game I would play. But other than that, there's really nothing else. I think what you mentioned, IDK, with Myst, that sounds really awesome. That's another game I would try as well.
Yeah, it's.
I think VR gaming still has a ways to go because the graphics right now don't match up to a regular game. I think we might need to see one more the next generation to really have VR pop off, because right now the VR, like the videos are they're really really good. Like they are on the graphics are actually better than if you just watch a movie on your screen. Like if you could watch that movie in VR, then I think it's definitely a lot better. And like right now for gaming, the graphics haven't caught up yet. And I would say that if a game is, I think I mentioned this before, but if a game is a VR game, it's going to just be worse. It's just going to be worse than a regular game. And right now there is like no, other than Half-Life Alex, right? There is no real reason to jump into a VR gaming experience. But to go on your point of of the PlayStation, play Sony like commoditizing the VR hardware market. Consoles have always been like that, right? It's they give access points to play games, good high quality games for a cheaper cost than it is to build a PC. And like I think that they've said that these console makers, they sell the consoles basically at a loss, right?
Yeah.
But they make so much
Yeah,
money
they
off
do.
the royalty, or I don't know if royalties is the right way to say it, but they make a lot of money from the developers paying what is it, a royal, it's not royalty.
Just being able to like polish their
Develop-
games on their platforms.
Yeah, publishing fees.
Yeah.
But they make their money off of accessories, games, subscriptions. That's why you
Controllers.
Controllers, big on controllers. I mean, come on, Nintendo Switch, the drift on those
Oh
things.
boy.
I don't got it because I don't play it, but many other people do, and they're very upset about it. And then also, the dog decides to take the controller for a spin, crushes it. You need a new controller, or you need to buy a pro controller or whatever. They make plenty of money from that. But yeah, so Sony with PS5 going into VR, looking very interesting. And I want to say before we get into our last topic of the night, I did want to bring something up I just remembered. Sony also has just announced, or hasn't announced, but there's a rumor going around that they're going to shut down the PS3, Vita, and PSP stores
Mm-hmm.
for those consoles in the near future, which was expected, but probably not this quickly, not all at once. Um, my opinion on it is it's a little sad, feels a little scummy too, because I'm not sure how much it actually costs to keep those servers running, so that people can actually buy PS3 games that are no longer published or very hard to find. But at the same time, like, I guess it's their way of being like, well, buy it now so you can have it. Plus, they haven't made any clarifications on whether if you have games from the PS3 era that you've bought digitally, if you can still re-download them, or if they're just going to be completely gone.
Yeah, that was my question. My main question. Like,
Yeah,
I think
they
it's
haven't-
totally fine to shut down the store, but as long as you can still re-download your old games.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's something they haven't they haven't clarified yet.
This is why I keep buying my games physically, because eventually, when the world moves on from that generation of games and you have them digitally, you know you can't get, and you never know when they're gonna throttle it. This is just I'm just soapboxing here. You know, it's like, hey, this is why I buy my games physically. I don't want the store to get cut off.
Yeah,
I don't know if you guys feel the same way. You know, with the digital editions of consoles, I think this just basically says, hey, this is more reason for me to buy the
physical disc.
the physical disc with the disc reader, because this basically you get to keep access to all your. You can buy more games, especially once the generation has moved on. You know, basically it's obsolete, but hey, you can still use it to play new games. Just buy them on the secondary market.
Yeah, you actually own the software, as in, like, buying it digitally is like you bought the rights to download this.
Yeah.
You know, you don't actually own
it,
it.
and then they can remove it.
Yeah.
I was going heavily into digital for a while now, but I've realized that you don't get as many good deals on games as you do physically. Like, it's kind of insane to see a game that's still $60 in the PSN store, or like maybe 50 or 30, and in like Walmart or Target, you can get it for like 5 or 10. You will not see a deal like that on PSN unless it's a super duper sale years down the line. And even then, you may not see that price, maybe like 15. So there's like still a reason to go after physical deals. But yeah, it's kind of sad because there's a lot of games that just haven't made the jump or can't make the jump from PS3 to PS4, and they're going to potentially be lost forever when the store shuts down because there's just nowhere to find them to buy them, or they're extremely rare or extremely expensive to buy physically. Maybe this is future plans of Sony deciding to bring some of these things to the future with remakes. I don't know, but kind of sad.
I want my refund. I want my Persona 4 Golden on my PlayStation 4. Come on.
Yes,
let me just call up my Atlas rep. Excuse me, Sunstone.
I mean, she knows. She knows. I mean, come on. She, they got it out on the PC. All right, that's good enough. You know. They got it out on the PC. So just go get a PC.
At least Kagros played it. That's all I care about. If they only made one copy and only Kagros can play it, totally fine with that.
I am looking forward to Atlas's, announcement, in the coming months on what they have down the pipeline. You know, we've already confirmed that Persona 6 is currently not coming. You know, we've already confirmed it, and we've already confirmed that Persona 6 is not coming in the near future.
That'll be a while.
I mean, for the record, we're speculating, but reading between the lines, I don't think it's coming anytime soon, which I'm fine. That's fine. Just give me a Persona 5 Arena, please. Even though I suck at fighting games.
I mean, Arxis is winding down on Dragon Ball Z Fighters, so there's potential. There's room. That would be the next spinoff to do after all the other spinoffs. But I mean, I wouldn't mind a Strikers 2 if that's a possibility.
We
If they
still
want
have
to
to play
keep the
Strikers
Persona 5
first. We
thing
have to play
going.
Strikers first. That's on our list. That's on
But
our list.
But if somehow there's room somehow for there to be a sequel or something else, that'd be interesting. I can see them delaying 6 to continue that, but I don't know if it's possible or not. I haven't played Strikers yet. I don't know, but it could be. Could be.
P5S squared, baby.
P5S2. P5S2. So moving on to the last thing for Sony, we've got Sony coming in and just straight up buying Evo. Now, for those of you who don't know what Evo is, that is the Evolution fighting game tournament held every year in Las Vegas. It was originally held in the Bay and then moved out to Vegas to have a bigger venue where people could actually gather. Evo has been under a lot of strain and pressure due to the ongoing pandemic, but also due to a
Sexual allegation.
the sexual. There have been allegations and cases of sexual harassment, assault,
harassment. Yeah, I think harassment might be
harassment by members of certain fighting game communities, but also the big blow to Evo online this year was the Mr. Wizard, Mr. Tony, the head guy, head honcho of Evo for many years. Allegations were levied against him, and they were proven to be, I believe, true. So he had to step down and leave his post, which now means Evo has really no leadership. There are a couple of guys up there who have been there the entire time who are keeping it afloat for now, but no one really knew what was going to happen to Evo. Well, Sony has stepped in and bought the whole shebang, and this has put a lot of people in a bit of a tizzy. A lot of fighting game community are very scared of the future for Evo. Evo is a huge tournament, and it's a grassroots sort of thing. It didn't have any major corporate control over it. There were sponsorships by major companies who had fighting games they made, but no one fighting game company controlled it. You know, you could have this big tournament, and you'd have your Street Fighters, you have your Tekken, you'd have your Killer Instinct, you have your Marvel vs. Capcom, and then you'd have like My Little Pony fighting game in a corner, or you'd have Tetris Attack in another corner. You have all these little side tournaments and stuff people would play. They didn't get onto the big stage, but they could still be there. It was just a big competition environment. With Sony buying Evo out, though, this does raise a lot of questions. Will Smash continue to be part of Evo? There was already some issues with controversy within the Smash community over sexual harassment allegations in that community, pedophilia, a lot of nasty stuff. Honestly, painted the community pretty bad and made Nintendo's decision to like sort of stay out of it and not sponsor it as much as some people were calling for them to do so seem pretty. What's the word? Well, it was a good decision on their part to stay out and not get so entrenched in it. So will Smash continue at Evo? Nintendo has said they are evaluating it. We don't know. I'm sure for Nintendo, they're not too happy about having their game be at a tournament being put on by a rival company. Not saying they wouldn't do it, but Nintendo usually isn't too happy to share center stage with someone else, especially with one of their games. And especially since they don't really like the competitive side of Smash. Sakurai has always said it's a party fighter.
Side of anything. They don't like the competitive. Maybe only Splatoon, but they don't like. Actually, I don't even know about that. They don't like the competitive side of any of their games.
They don't like competitions. They don't like dealing with that sort of headache. Actually, no. They just want it to be a game people play.
Pokemon might be the only one.
I mean, right, but Game Freak's the one usually taking care of that, aren't they?
Right, yeah.
I mean, they kind of help host those things, but
I think it's worth.
But the big thing, I think the big thing also is that the
IDK.
Yeah,
you didn't mention this. So for viewers that are not familiar with the fighting game community, the fighting game community, I think, was probably the earliest esports that we ever had.
Yes,
They
yes,
blazed the
it
trail for
was.
esports, like fighting.
They did.
Like even back before 2000s, they were broadcasting the fighting game tournaments. I don't know how they did it before then. Probably, I'm not exactly sure, but I believe they were already broadcasting their tournaments. Maybe
Team
around.
Team Team Spooky was one of the four front runners in streaming fighting game tournaments for people to watch
Hmm.
before Twitch, back when it was Justin TV,
Hmm.
probably even before that. Fighting game community really did lay down the grid work for what we now know as esports.
Hmm. Yep.
And for the crown jewel tournament to now be bought up by a corporation like Sony, I'm sure there's a lot of fighting game fans who are very nervous and afraid for the future, because that tournament was sort of like their big moment in the sun. And if Sony comes in and decides to make it a solely Sony only fighting game tournament, that's not really Evo anymore. Now, the good news, of course, is that even if Evo is killed in this manner and becomes a strictly only Street Fighter, only future Sony fighting games, there's still plenty of fighting games. They can all make a new tournament and start Evo over again as something else. And they can go somewhere else and do it. That the fighting game community does not need corporations to support them to keep them alive. They've been alive this entire time by their own grassroots powers. They'll just go back to square one and start again. And Sony will get to have their own little marquee fighting game tournament that they host with their games. But I'm sure for a lot of fans, it's going to be a really sort of sour thing to see Evo used when it's not really Evo. When you don't have the Microsoft fighting games, when you don't have Tekken, when you don't have any weird side games, when you don't have the flavor, the spice that made Evo, when it's gone, it's going to be up to the community again to rebuild it somewhere else. Hopefully this time avoid the issue that popped up.
I think an earlier question you asked, IDK, was like whether Smash would come back or if Nintendo would come back. And I think for Evo, I'm pretty optimistic with their leadership, even though Sony has, I guess, they do own them. I think there's another company as well that owns Evo now.
RTS is also part ownership as well. I don't know who they are, but
yeah, I think the leadership behind Evo and the people that organize this event is that they look at games like solely on games. Given we're not in quarantine, I think they just purely look at games and see which game has like the right amount of competition, the right amount of mind space in everyone's like minds at that moment for fighting games. So I do think Smash will always be there once quarantine is done, but I think Smash is notorious for having really bad online connection, right? So they've even had a pretty legit Smash tournament where people just keep getting disconnected all the time, right? So that's super embarrassing. And I think, unfortunately for this year, I still think we're still going to be in quarantine. And because of that, Smash is not going to be in there. But I think there's a lot of games that would normally be there. I don't know. I think that event, I would think Evo for this year would also exclude them as well. I was also thinking so now that Sony owns them, I do think a lot of the games, if they are on Sony's platform, that will be the main platform. But games like Smash or like Killer Instinct, I think that game is still pretty popular. That game's only on Xbox, so it still makes sense to have some Xbox Microsoft presence there. Just because I still think it's very, very much like games only. Like they focus on games only, and they don't really care about platform because, again, with platform, anyone can play cross-platform, and it doesn't really matter what you have. Yeah, I'm pretty optimistic with Evo. I think Sony buying Evo is great news. Actually, I think it could help legitimize fighting games in general, just because, like Kagros said, fighting games is like the grandfather of esports, but they're not at the top. You know, the top right now is like these MOBA games or these like FPS games, and I think fighting games is much more exciting to watch. Honestly, I guess like the difficult part is like understanding how to watch it, but you know, when if you have some commentator like IDK on it and start saying, "Oh my gosh, that the guy didn't block, he getting happy birthday."
He grabbed it from half a screen away. Is that even legal? Is that it took 3/4 of his life bar? Is that legal? I would arrest that man. He just committed a war crime.
So what?
Get the developers in here. They need to patch this ASAP.
I just want to issue a quick correction here. I think it's important to note that the person that the sexual harassment allegations his name is Joey Sular. I think IDK may have mixed up the name earlier. Did
I call him Tony? Yeah, Tony's one.
There's
it was Joey Sular. That's.
I think there's another person.
Yeah,
I think Tom Cannon is the co-founder. Tony and Tom, and hold on, let me make sure we got the names right. So Tony and Tom Cannon are the co-founders who are still with Evo, and they are still working.
They're still there. They're the ones that. Yeah, they're the ones now working with Sony and RTS.
Yes.
It was Joey, Mr. Wizard, who was the one at the allegations that had to step down and leave.
Yes. So I do want to also mention that they have announced, or as of right now, they are still open to having all platforms for Evo. Or let me read the article right here. Where. So Evo is still open to all platforms, and that PlayStation's leadership is enabling them to continue working with our community to support fighting games. But this is. You can take that all with a grain of salt, right? I would not be surprised if they basically banned Xbox systems from Evo, for maybe not this year, but for the following year. And I think, to be honest,
Well, I mean, it's like
if they're going to have in-person events, Smash brings the viewers, right? Smash is the number one most viewed. I think 2 years ago or the year before, it was the number one. It's the number one most viewed. I think. Hold on. Let me pull up Twitch right now. Let me see what the number one fighting game is right now. Let's see. Browse. Can I
Street Fighter?
Fighting?
I think Street Fighter or like Tekken.
Street Fighter 5 or Tekken 7 probably.
Hold on. Why is Cuphead here? All right, yeah. So number one right now.
Cuphead fighting.
Right now, number one on Twitch is Dragon Ball Fighter Z.
Oh, Dragon Ball. Mm-hmm.
And then number two is Smash Ultimate. So Smash
Ultimate, interesting.
Smash definitely brings the views, and then number three behind that is Tekken, and then after that it's Street Fighter. So
that makes sense. Tekken just sold like 7 million copies or something.
I honestly think it would be in best interest, and I think it's actually good for the core. Maybe it's actually good for the tournament brand as well. Is that, oh hey, look, we're owned by Sony, but we're still going to have Smash here. It's just like, hey, Sony is kind of hands off with this, and even though they might not be, but the image that it gives, like, oh hey, look, there's still a Nintendo game here. Now, I think it'd just be a question of whether or not Nintendo, just like IDK mentioned, whether or not Nintendo would be okay. Having their game and they're really iffy, and you already know how Nintendo feels about their Melee especially. That's a whole other topic. Melee and Smash Ultimate just being in tournaments, right? For a monetary prize.
Yeah, they really are sort of hung up over it. I mean, yeah, it's a topic for another video, but Project M just the way they absolutely submarined that thing and wanted to make sure no one could possibly play that at Evo or on a fighting game tournament. They just don't like it if you hack their games or if you even mention that you're going to use a ROM or emulator to like host a tournament and let people play an old game that they can't buy anymore. You cannot buy Melee anymore. Yeah, Nintendo gets pissed at you for playing a ROM.
I wonder how much I can sell my GameCube on Melee for. I wonder how much.
I don't know. I have some old CRT TVs somewhere at home. I wonder how much those would go for. They desperately need them. They're all dying. They need that to play properly.
Yeah. So for those of you that don't know, the CRT monitors, they don't have any. They have the least. They might have. Do they have any lag?
CRTs?
Yeah.
Shouldn't. That's why they play on them.
Yeah. So CRT monitors.
Monitor TVs have lag.
Those are the ones that everyone plays with at fighting game tournaments because they don't have lag, which is pretty.
Well, for Melee, it's because Melee hooks up to it because that was what the GameCube was supposed to hook up to.
I know. But, like if you find yourself at a fighting game tournament and you're like, why are they using these old ass, these huge ass old ass TVs? Well, there is a reason for it, and it's just because it has the least amount of lag, input lag.
I definitely think these days tournament organizers are probably using computer monitors instead of regular TVs. You can get some pretty low lag on them. Really, really low versus like using a regular HD TV or something.
And then
but these days, like TVs, TVs are getting so good at it that it may not even be an issue anymore. But
I was gonna say, and people playing Melee right now, they're playing emulated with Slippy because it helps with the netcode. So that's pretty awesome.
It actually gives them an online, which is what Nintendo was mad about because they're like, "How dare you improve our game from like 30 years ago?"
I mean, just
20 years
just
ago.
for the record, guys, I can't tell about the lag. I can't tell the lag. Like when you guys were playing, you're like, "Oh."
No.
Like when we were playing, like one of our most favorite rooms was like, "Oh, can you tell the lag?" And I'm like, "Yeah, sure. There's lag." Nah, I can't tell.
Rob.
No, I can't tell.
Rob.
No, I can't tell, dude. I'm like, it looks the same to me. Like it doesn't matter if there's 10 frames or 5 frames of input lag. Either way, my fireball's not coming out, even though I'm inputting quarter circle punch. It's not coming out. What the fuck?
I mean, it's definitely one of those finicky things that if you're just a casual in fighting games, like you're not gonna give two shits about. But if you're like one of those guys who's like super serious, super into it, like apparently if you play enough, you will feel it, and then you will do everything you can to get rid of it. I can only assume it's like in League when your ping is like 70 and it jumps up to like 80. You're like, I feel the difference. And it's like, it's only 10 points. Like, I feel a difference. It's not right. I demand better service from my ISPs. Fuck them. They charge too much. Anyways, so Sony bought Evo. Fighting game fans are in disarray. Hopefully, Evo can come back and be an awesome tournament you can just tune into and watch, and hopefully it'll be around. I'd hate for it to disappear.
I mean,
I'd hate for Evo and E3 to both disappear.
Just really quick,
forever.
Though, do you think Evo is outdated now, given the rise in Twitch and all these streaming things? Do you think it's outdated?
No. I think there's something to be said about going in person to fight a fighting game tournament or just any sort of tournament and getting to see who you're normally fighting against online as a username and seeing them in person and being like, oh, Booty Slapper 505, you're just who I thought you were. Like, oh yeah?
Yeah, like even though it's an esport, like a video game sport, it's very much a physical sport. Like you want people physically there with a physical spectating crowd. Cause that's all of Evo. I would go there just for the crowd screaming at something. I just want to be a part of that. The energy is unmatched.
Yeah, and I think a lot of that goes back to how these communities were formed. Arcades, you went to an arcade to play these games. You couldn't buy them on your console, at least not in the beginning. You slap your quarter on the machine, claimed your spot in line to play. Like that was that in community, which is now gone. Obviously, most of the arcades are gone, but there's still that feeling of we need to get together. We need to have little small groups and play out little mini tournaments in our like hometown stores and our hometown arcades. There's still that sense of community that's not really present in other online games because they didn't have it unless you live somewhere where there was like a computer cafe where you could play like Dota or CS 1.3 or one of those old games, and you actually got to know the people you were playing with.
I mean, like the thing is, the gaming crowd is getting we're getting more and more young people, right? They don't know. They don't know about the feeling like the arcade thing. I think
The
that's
thing
like,
is, though, the fighting game community is still pretty old skewed. Like, there is a lot of young blood in those communities, but if you go to a tournament like Evo and you look around, you're going to find a lot of guys looking like me.
I
you.
mean, no one's got the beard like
For
you,
you.
IDK. No one's got no
There
one's got that beard.
There are plenty of people with beards like me, and some with crazy beards, man. These guys are like fighting game hermits. They don't work a real job. They get paid to sit around and play fighting games. They don't care about how they smell or how they look. They're just there because they play fighting games good. But yeah, it skews older. You know, Alex Valle, old Street Fighter 2 veteran. He's like in his 40s. He's still going. You know, Daigo Umehara, he's in his late 30s. He's still going. Like, maybe one day all fighting games will be played online. That'll be a great day. And the lag doesn't matter, or when someone connects with you and they don't flip their lag switch, and your character isn't floating across the screen, you can't do anything. But I think there'll always be a preference for fighting games to be in person.
All right.
Yeah, and I think with that will conclude our night, gentlemen. Unfortunately, our Legend of Zelda tier list will have to be postponed till next time. We had too much to talk about. So with that, I think we will end our stream. I thank everyone for paying attention. I'm sorry we debated you with the idea of a Legend of Zelda tier list.
Debated.
We couldn't quite get to it today, but we will get to it next time. I solemnly promise. As
guys, viewers, never IDK's word. It's always bait, guys. I'm just warning you guys. You know, IDK is.
You can trust Uncle.
IDK is a master baiter. All right, he is a master baiter. All right,
we'll get to it.
Baiting is what IDK is best at.
Trust me, we'll get to Legend of Zelda next time.
The bait and switch. Don't ever, you know.
Anyways, you can find us here on Twitch under Thumbstick Adventurers. If you want to watch a VOD of this, it'll be over on our YouTube channel by the same name, Thumbstick Adventurers on YouTube. And next time, Legend of Zelda tier list, plus whatever else we decide. Gentlemen, any other words for our closing?
Guys, don't trust IDK.
Marvel, baby. Marvel, baby.
Marvel, baby. Yeah. Till next time, everyone.
All right.
Bye-bye.
Good night. Bye.